Thanks again for lunch.
Good luck.
And Jess, thanks for this.
You have only yourself to thank for that, Matt.
By the way, I was wondering if you ever got through that manuscript from the lady from Lackawanna?
Oh, I did. You certainly called it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very derivative.
Figures.
Derivative of vintage Matt Matthews. But with a maturity and freshness that just took my breath away from page one clear through to the very end.
Yeah, well, what did you say?
I'm saying that only one person could have written that book, Matt Matthews himself.
Yeah, well, I figured if you knew that was my stuff, you might, you might shine me on. But then I forgot. That's not your style either.
On This Morning in America, on pause, a federal judge blocks the restrictive Texas abortion law known as the Heartbeat Act, when services for women could resume, and why the fight is far from over. Biden's mandate mission, the president's trip to the heartland to encourage more companies to require employees to vaccinate as his approval ratings plummet to a new low, the latest push to maintain his legacy. Violent school shootout, an 18-year-old student opening fire on his classmates, how authorities caught up with him, and an update on the injured. Dramatic video captures one Alabama woman's terrifying ordeal as she is caught up in a flash flood. And more shocking video, this time of a close call and a life-saving last-minute decision. Plus, new this morning, Olivia Rodrigo on her driver's license, artistic license, and a license to kill it on stage. It's Morning in America.
I kinda feel sorry for them, 'cause they'll never know you the way that I do. Yet today I drove.
You might have been listening to this music as you wake up. Maybe it's on your playlist. Maybe it's on one of your kids' playlists. Hello, and live from Chicago's heartland, or rather from the nation's heartland. We're here in Chicago. I'm Adrienne Bankert in studio with Nick Smith, Sloan Glass, Gerard Jabali, and our team of reporters, our journalists all over the country. We're bringing you the biggest stories. Let's get right into it this morning. New this morning, Texas's controversial abortion law has now been suspended. A federal judge calling it a, quote, offensive deprivation of a constitutional right. The law banned abortions after about 6 weeks of pregnancy, making it the most restrictive such law in the country. National correspondent Paul Gerke live with more on the court ruling. Paul?
A pretty scathing pushback there, Adrienne, wouldn't you say, from U.S. District Judge Robert Pittman. He's the one who issued the order, which effectively reverses SB 8. That's that so-called heartbeat bill we've been talking about that has effectively banned abortions in the state of Texas since it took effect September 1st. This is the one that relied on the public, granting $10,000 bounties to anyone who successfully provides a lawsuit that goes against an abortion provider. Planned Parenthood said it saw an 80% drop in Texas patients in the first 2 weeks since this law took effect. And this stems from a Biden administration lawsuit, which argues that those restrictions were enacted in defiance of the Constitution. Judge Pittman agrees. Here's a peek at some of his order. He says, quote, from the moment SB 8 went into effect, women have been unlawfully prevented from exercising control over their lives in ways that are protected by the Constitution. That other courts may find a way to avoid this conclusion is theirs to decide. This court will not sanction one more day of this offensive deprivation of such an important right. Now, there is another side to this issue. Texas Right to Life, which said it was unsurprised by the developments. Here's Kimberlyn Schwartz, a spokesperson for the group. She argues, quote, this is ultimately the legacy of Roe versus Wade, that you have activist judges bending over backward, bending precedent, bending the law in order to cater to the abortion industry. These activist judges will create their conclusion first, that abortion is a so-called constitutional right, and then work backward from there. It's unclear at this point how quickly abortion services will resume in Texas. Some places might be waiting for a little more firm legal guidance. You're going to hear what an abortion law expert thinks about this situation coming up in the next hour of Morning in America. As for what's next with that Biden lawsuit, Texas officials will be seeking a reversal from the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. That's the very same court that allowed that abortion ban to take effect. And just so we're clear, you're going to hear the word Supreme Court thrown around an awful lot regarding this issue. They started their new term on Monday. In December, they're hearing a very similar case based out of Missouri, which could effectively reverse Roe versus Wade. Everyone in Texas will be watching that very closely, Adrienne.
Yes, a very emotional and contentious debate there. Thank you so much, Paul. The legal fight continues. Well, President Biden is coming to Chicago to promote his vaccine mandates for businesses. The trip rescheduled from last week due to contentious negotiations over his stalled economic recovery proposal. And Nick Smith is right here live in studio with us with more on the president's visit. Nick, what can we expect?
We can expect President Biden to meet with United Airlines' chief executive and local Democratic leaders to continue his vaccine mandate push. The White House said in a statement that the president's message will be clear. Vaccination requirements work. The mandate, which the White House says will cover 100 million U.S. workers and apply to about 2/3 of all U.S. employees, is being written in part by the Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA. The White House believes vaccine mandates are the most effective way to keep workplaces safe and send a clear message to the unvaccinated. A Kaiser Family Foundation poll found that 51% of those surveyed were in favor of employers requiring vaccines. It is important to note that the mandates are seeing court challenges. On September 23rd, federal workers filed a lawsuit, and more challenges are expected as the new federal requirement may conflict with some state laws. And Adrian, at least 24 states' attorneys general have announced their intent to sue in anticipation of the OSHA standards. So this is far from over. We know that people will have a problem with being forced to take the vaccine.
Yeah, and we've continued to see that conversation arise for religious reasons, for other personal reasons. Thank you so much, Nick. Los Angeles has enacted one of the strictest vaccine mandates in the country. Beginning November 4th, anyone 12 and older will have to show proof of full vaccination to go inside malls, restaurants, movie theaters, bars, gyms, pretty much anywhere. Unvaccinated people with medical or religious exemptions do have a way around it. They can go inside only if they show proof that they tested negative for COVID within the last 72 hours. 69% of LA County residents over the age of 12 are already fully vaccinated. In Washington, an agreement is being worked on to prevent the federal government from defaulting on its loans. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell offering Democrats a deal that would extend the debt ceiling until December. Evan Lambert is on Capitol Hill. Evan, it sounds like they're just continuing to kick the can down the road. Republicans still pressuring Democrats to raise this debt ceiling through reconciliation plans, but we've been hearing time and time again that Democrats are saying no dice to reconciliation.
Yeah, Adrienne, both sides really dug in here on a longer-term solution, but there are indications this morning that Democrats will accept this deal from Republicans on the shorter term here, and we know that that will likely let us avoid a financial meltdown. So on Wednesday, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, he offered this deal. It would avoid the government running out of money by October 18th to pay its bills. He says Republicans will allow Democrats to raise the debt limit through, quote, normal procedures to a set amount. It will last until early December. Democrats have called McConnell's offer a cave, but he also made it clear he still wants Democrats to do a longer-term fix on their own through a complicated budget process known as reconciliation. Both the White House and some Republican senators, they don't seem that thrilled by this short-term deal.
We could get this done today. We don't need to kick the can. We don't need to go through a cumbersome process that every day brings additional risks.
The problem I have is that Democrats want to they want to spend $3.5 to $5 trillion on programs that I think are socialist in nature, that don't help the economy, and they want to raise taxes. They can't do that without raising the debt limit. So I am not going to help them increase the borrowing power of the country.
And so this does set up this same kind of fight in just a few more weeks that led us to the brink of this financial crisis. Now, we are hoping that there could be some kind of deal worked out on this short-term measure sometime today. Adrian?
All right. Thank you so much, Evan. Republican governors from across the country joined Texas Governor Greg Abbott at the U.S.-Mexico border, urging the Biden administration to take action against what they are calling an immigration crisis. Our own Marky Martin there for the governor's press conference, joining us live now with details. Marky, what are the main takeaways here?
Hey, good morning, Adrian. So this group traveled together to really double down on their criticism of what they see as Biden's border crisis. And you had Texas Governor Greg Abbott flanked by these 9 visiting governors, many of which were from, Idaho, Wyoming, Oklahoma, Arizona, just to name a few. South Dakota's Kristi Noem actually canceled her trip last minute. But aside from the usual talking points that we have been hearing since January, this group offered up 10 action items, not plans, but actions that they want the Biden administration to take in order to alleviate pressure off of these southern border cities, off of the law enforcement that works here. And that ranged from everything from continuing Title 42 public health restrictions to calling on President Joe Biden to continue construction on this border wall that was started under the Trump administration, to deploying more federal agents down here to the southern border. And if you notice, a lot of those governors were from Middle America, and they came forward and said their top border concern is drugs. Now, Texas, this is just one example. Texas says this year alone, the Texas Department of Public Safety has seized 400 pounds of fentanyl. Here's Texas Governor Greg Abbott with a different perspective on that number.
Just the amount of fentanyl apprehended just by the Texas Department of Public Safety just this year is more than enough to kill every man, woman, and child in the states of Texas, California, and New York.
Yeah, it's pretty frightening to hear him say that out loud. There's another large group, just to look ahead now, there's another large caravan, a group of migrants, about 60,000, we're told, mostly Haitians, making their way from South America up to the United States. So the National Border Patrol Council saying it is possible that we see another situation like the one we saw in Del Rio just a couple weeks ago. Adrian.
All right. Thank you so much, Marky. No doubt more people continuing to try to come to the U.S. for safety. Well, the suspect in yesterday's school shooting in Arlington, Texas, is in custody this morning. He's being held on $75,000 bail. 4 people injured, including 3 students. Our Aaron Nolan is outside Timberview High School. Aaron, according to police, this wasn't like other school shootings or other mass shootings on school campuses. What do they say happened?
Well, they believe that there was a motive here. We're going to get to that in just a moment. But first, I want to kind of walk you through some of the changes that I've seen so far being here on location at this high school. We arrived late yesterday afternoon and noticed as soon as we got here, the police presence and caution tape. The caution tape was blocking this entrance directly behind me. It is no longer there. The police presence is down to what we believe is a school resource officer who has walked inside the school and a security car that is just monitoring this parking lot, which right now is full of media members. It seems like everything's back to normal for this high school. But yesterday, Wednesday morning, was anything but normal for the 1,900 students that are inside this school each and every school day. According to authorities, though, it all started with a fight that turned into gunshots. The suspect, 18-year-old Timothy Simpkins, pulled out a gun and fired. 4 people were injured. Simpkins left, ran away, and was found shortly after. The school was locked down after about an hour or so. Then students were bused to a location to meet with their parents.
It was absolutely awful and horrendous, and you just think these are things that happen somewhere else. You know, it doesn't happen to me or to us or in this neighborhood or this city.
I'm trying to hold it together, but I'm holding on to him very tightly.
So no classes here today. The school district sending out a message saying it wants to allow this high school a chance to heal. They still will provide counselors to any students who needs it. You mentioned those 4 victims, Adrian. Real quickly, let's talk about the condition of those. 1 is in serious condition, 2 in good condition, 1 expected to be released from a local hospital later today. Back to you.
I mean, we have covered these kinds of stories, school shootings, time and time again, and it is so heartening that we actually have a good report for you at the end of this, that somebody's in custody and that no one died. Thank you so much, Aaron Nolan, reporting for us from Arlington, Texas. There was a somber moment on the field for National Women's Soccer League. Fans cheering as players paused for a moment of solidarity. It was the first time back on the field at 3 matches following accusations of emotional abuse and sexual misconduct inside the league. It led to the cancellation of games, the resignation of the league's commissioner, the firing of one team's head coach. Coming up a little later in our show, we're going to have an interview discussing the future for National Women's Soccer. And new this morning, we've just learned a child's death is being blamed on flash flooding in Alabama. Intense rainfall brought life-threatening flash flooding across parts of the state. Emergency crews in Alabama had to rescue a woman stranded in these deep floodwaters. The woman on top of her submerged car, a first responder, was seen wading to her rescue. Wow. Gerard Jabaly here now. You've been talking to us about flash flooding all week. I mean, this is what we're talking about. It's very serious.
Absolutely, and unfortunately, this is happening in an area that's a little more populated. If it was a little more rural, you may not see as many impacts, but we have definitely seen the rain over the last 3 days over these areas I was talking about. Over 6 inches in many areas, some places, down towards the Florida Panhandle. Over a foot of rain in the last 3 days. And of course, we've had a lot of flooding reports, that big cluster, especially in the Birmingham area, where we have seen a lot of rainfall, as well as a lot of flooding and reports of rescues needing to be done. But it's not just there, but look at this. Nearly 10 inches of rainfall on the south side of Birmingham, still very similar to that up there towards Huntsville. So we have seen quite a bit, and we're continuing to see that even at this hour. What you're looking at right now is a live radar picture here from the Florida Panhandle. Panama City under numerous flash flood warnings, and yes, even a tornado warning at this moment, and that is in effect until 6:30 a.m. local time just outside of Panama City. So they're getting a lot of very dangerous weather here in Panama City. More to happen as we move into later on today. The flash flood watches that are in effect will get trimmed out of Alabama, but they will remain into parts of northern Georgia through tonight, and we could still see, again, the threat for flash flooding as numerous thunderstorms will be around. All right, quick look at the travel forecast. We are looking at delays possible in Kansas City, Nashville due to some dense fog, but also delays in Atlanta, Charlotte, and Orlando due to all that rainfall. Adrian?
All right, thank you so much, Gerard. Up next, we heard our Evan Lambert's report on the debt ceiling debate, that it continues. It's like the song that never ends. But how is it impacting the market and your pocketbook? We're speaking with an expert on the possible long-term effects, and it's been a weeks-long search. We're talking 3 weeks in the search for Brian Laundrie. Now we're hearing his father could be joining investigators on the search. Why it took him so long. More.
It's beautiful out here. Sure is. And I earn 5% cash back on travel purchase through Chase with Chase Freedom Unlimited. That means that I earn 5% on our rental car, I earn 5% on our cabin. I mean, come on. Hello, cash back!
Hello, Kevin Hart.
I'm scared. In a good way. I'm lying. Let's get inside.
Earn big time with Chase Freedom Unlimited with no annual fee. How do you cash back? Chase, make more of what's yours.
You've been taking mental health meds, and your mind is finally in a better place. Except now, you have uncontrollable body movements called tardive dyskinesia, TD, and it can seem like that's all people see. Some meds for mental health can cause abnormal dopamine signaling in the brain. While how it works is not fully understood, Ingrezza is thought to reduce that signaling.
Ingrezza is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with TD movements in the face and body. People taking Ingrezza can stay on their current dose of most mental health meds. Don't take Ingrezza if you're allergic to any of its ingredients. Ingrezza may cause serious side effects, including sleepiness. Don't drive, operate heavy machinery, or do other dangerous activities until you know how Ingrezza affects you. Other serious side effects include potential heart rhythm problems and abnormal movements.
Shift the focus more on you. Ask your doctor about Ingrezza. It's simple. 1 pill, once daily. #1 prescribed for TD. Learn how you could pay as little as $0 at Ingrezza.com.
Overwhelmed by the ups and downs of frequent mood swings of bipolar 1? Ask about Vraylar. Some medicines only treat the lows or highs. Vraylar effectively treats depression, acute manic, or mixed episodes of bipolar 1 in adults. Full spectrum relief for all bipolar 1 symptoms with just 1 pill once a day. Elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis have an increased risk of death or stroke. Call your doctor about unusual changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults. Report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, which may mean a life-threatening reaction, or uncontrollable muscle movements, which may be permanent. Side effects may not appear for several weeks. High cholesterol and weight gain and high blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, may occur. Movement dysfunction, sleepiness, and stomach issues are common side effects. And you can pay as little as $0 if eligible for your first 2 prescriptions. When bipolar 1 overwhelms, Vraylar helps smooth the ups and downs.
We're a nation of more than just 2 points of view.
We're a nation of many perspectives. And now there's a news network that can speak to all of us. Welcome to News Nation, a network built on facts, without the spin, without the arrogance.
Just common sense news for common sense people.
News, the way it was meant to be. You don't need us to tell you how to think, and we won't try.
This is News Nation.
News Nation. News for all America.
Back to Morning in America now. Word of a short-term deal on the debt ceiling is resonating with investors on Wall Street. The market staged a rally after Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announced he's open to compromise. But is the damage already done? According to the New York Times, finance executives say risk of default is already damaging the economy. And here to talk about all of this is Kristen Myers, editor-in-chief of The Balance. Kristen, good morning to you. Are those experts right? Are we already seeing signs that the mere mention of default already hurts the economy?
You know, I think that how much the economy is going to be hurt by essentially this brinkmanship over that debt ceiling still remains to be seen. But there is some measure, at least, of historical precedence on this. Remember that there was a debt ceiling kind of standoff just a decade ago in 2011. And you have to look no further than the U.S. Treasury in their own research and studies on the matter to say that, frankly, yes, there are negative macroeconomic effects from this sort of political brinkmanship over the debt ceiling. It causes uncertainty in the economy. We see volatility in the stock market, and there are some stresses that are placed on the U.S. economy as a result. Now, how badly the U.S. economy will be impacted this time around in 2021, I think still remains to be seen. Yeah. However, the bigger problem is if we do hit that debt ceiling, that's when you're really going to see some serious damage to the economy.
Well, investors have been looking for signs of clarity, or at least just paint a picture for us lawmakers as to what exactly could happen before the end of the year, entering into Q1 of 2022. Do you think that they received any signs that point to some sort of future yesterday?
I don't know if we got a totally clear picture yesterday. I think that the phrase kicking the can down the road is exactly right, because we frankly could be in the same situation in just a couple of months in December when Democrats and Republicans have to get together yet again to figure out what they are going to do about the debt ceiling. Or perhaps if we get rid of the debt ceiling altogether, which is something that, I mentioned to you yesterday when we were chatting about this. I think, however, markets, the economy, investors, the American people, at least right now, can take a sigh of relief. But it is clear that neither Democrats nor Republicans really want to default on the U.S. debt.
Right.
And it's something that has never happened before. And there is a reason for that, Adrienne.
Yes, absolutely. Usually we see this finalized, remedied at the last final hour, but the market is coming off its worst month since the start of the pandemic. The first few days of October haven't been exactly amazing. How much do you think the debate on Capitol Hill will continue to play a role, especially during such an uncertain time, considering the pandemic's effects and supply chain issues, which we've been talking a lot about?
Yeah, there's been a lot of pressure on the markets right now. Honestly, what's happening on the Hill notwithstanding, you have concerns over inflation running rampant, some of those supply chain issues that you have been mentioning weighing on businesses. There is still, of course, even that threat of the pandemic, the Delta variant, still somewhat hanging over businesses and the economy right now. And then what's happening on the Hill, typically markets tend to look past at least headlines in reference to politics. They tend to ignore it. And actually, they tend to do fairly well in face of some sort of uncertainty, political uncertainty. However, This debt ceiling conversation is something a little bit different altogether because everyone has said pretty much unanimously that if we hit that debt ceiling, if we do not do something about it, if it's not lifted, if we do default on our debt, that there would be essentially a financial calamity. We would see trillions of dollars of wealth wiped out. We would see millions of jobs lost. The markets have not liked that news at all so far. They will not like it if we default on those debts in December, when that new deadline essentially is reached. So no, what's happening on the Hill, what's happening in terms of politics, the government shutdown, infrastructure, spending bills, these absolutely are all weighing on markets right now because they will have economic impacts and even impacts on some of the businesses that we are seeing being traded every single day.
Kristen Myers, editor-in-chief of The Balance. Thanks again for being with us. And we do want to continue talking about the Delta variant and its effects. Have we turned a corner on the latest surge of COVID-19? Dr. Brett Giroir, a member of the coronavirus task force during the Trump administration, says yes. He spoke about the Delta variant and COVID immunity on the Donlan Report last night. Let's listen.
We are probably over the hump with Delta. We can't let our guard down, but most people now are either immune naturally because of Delta sweeping through, or they've been vaccinated, or a combination of the two. If you have natural immunity, you are about as protected or even more than if you had the vaccine.
And Dr. David Trotter of Emergency Medicine at Advocate Illinois Medical Center is here once again. Talk to us about what Dr. Giroir said in terms of herd immunity. There have been a lot of debates from the medical community saying, yes, we have indeed reached that point with so many people having already been infected and so many people having been vaccinated. What do you think about it?
Well, I'm very happy that we're still having this downward trend of COVID-19 infections. But if there's one thing this virus has taught us is that it can turn at the drop of a hat. And so we still need to maintain a lot of vigilance and really promote the same message, which is to get vaccinated. Whether you've been infected from COVID-19 in the past or not, it's very true that vaccines is the best way and the safest way to stay protected and prevent more infections.
There have been studies out, though. One of the scientists in UC's San Francisco School of Medicine was talking about the fact that the Delta variant is the last surge that we'll see, and that because of immunity being boosted based on vaccination again and people who have become ill and healed up, that this is the last of the worst that we're going to see. Do you think that this is the last hurrah for COVID-19?
I certainly would hope so. We had the same type of jubilance, back in the summertime when we thought that was going to be the last wave that we were going to see as well. But, with that same point, we still need to maintain this vigilance, still need to maintain the protection. And if we continue to get vaccinated, I think that hope could become a real reality.
There's something else that we know that the White House announced a $1 billion investment in at-home COVID tests. The rapid test, even though we just talked about there being a rapid test shortage, they want to invest in at-home tests. How will that help in terms of staying off this spread of COVID-19?
Well, the more accessibility that people have to get these tests, the more likely they're actually going to test themselves at home. And you are going to get a few more people that are going to test positive at home and prevent them from going to school, from going to work and exposing other people to this virus. And this will help to decrease the spread of the infection.
Yeah, a lot of people having a measured response to some of these really good statistics saying that it's getting better, understandably so. Thank you so much, Dr. Trotter, for being with us, as always.
Of course.
Well, still ahead, the FBI is narrowing their search for Brian Laundrie. We have a live report on where they're now looking for him. The Murdaugh murder mystery, it's getting deeper. We have a live report explaining the list of lawsuits this prominent South Carolina family is still facing. And snap, crackle, strike. Kellogg's cereal workers hitting the picket lines. We'll have a live report, the latest on their walkout. Still ahead. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Breakfast at Tiffany, she said I think not. Darling, I can't get enough of your love, baby. Girl, I don't know why. I can't get enough of your love, baby. Oh, no, baby. Girl, if I could only make you see and make you understand.
Get a dozen Double Crunch shrimp for $1 with any steak entree, only at Applebee's. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
80% get genetically meaningful health info from their 23andMe DNA reports. 80%. That's 8 out of 10 people who could get something enlightening, something empowering, something that could change everything. Info that could give you greater control of your own health. And it's right there in your DNA. So, if 80% get genetically meaningful health info, the question is, will you be part of the 80%?
Do you know what the future holds?
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 selling nerve care company. Nervive contains alpha-lipoic acid to relieve occasional nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort. Try Nervive Nerve Relief.
Ray loves vacations, but his diabetes never seemed to take one. Everything felt like a no. Everything. But then Ray went from no to no. With Freestyle Libre 14-Day, now he knows his glucose levels when he needs to and when he wants to. So Ray can be Ray. Take the mystery out of your glucose levels and lower your A1C. Now you know. Try it for free. Visit freestylelibre.us.
When you get a chip in your windshield, trust Safelite. This couple was headed to the farmer's market. When they got a chip, they drove to Safelite for a same-day repair. And with their insurance, it was no cost to them. That's service the way you need it.
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace.
Here's to hard workers, the holding down two jobbers, the making the paycheck stretchers. Here's to the bad to fair credit scores, and those bills were just a little bit laters. At Good to Go, we see you. We know you have the drive, you just can't afford to drive. Good to Go is here to give you auto insurance when others won't. For as little as $20 down and low monthly payments, Good to Go makes it easy to get approved, insured, and back on the road fast. Get the coverage you need, instant proof of insurance, and be on your way. We know you're going places. Let us help you get there. When others say no, we say you're good to go. Visit goodtogo.com.
Do we have any more paper towels?
Yep. Check the pantry. I just ordered from Boxed.
What's Boxed?
Boxed is the only wholesale club that lets you tap into the value of buying in bulk online.
Is that right?
But unlike other wholesale clubs and online stores, Boxed has no membership fees. Delivery is super fast. And look, free samples. Now we don't have to worry about running out.
Can we order cookies next time?
Save 10% and get free shipping on your first order at Boxed.com. The better way to shop bulk.
Welcome back to Morning in America. Let's get to our top stories from all around the world, starting with this one. A magnitude 5.9 earthquake hit southwest Pakistan overnight, killing at least 20 people and injuring more than 200. At least 4 died in a coal mine when it collapsed. As many as 100 mud homes were also destroyed, trapping residents inside. Pakistan's military has been deployed and is airlifting some of the injured from that mountainous region. In California, a cargo ship from Germany is the focus of an investigation into that ruptured oil pipeline. That's according to the Associated Press, who spoke with a U.S. official. The AP also reviewed 2 weeks of maritime data and found the Rotterdam Express, a 1,000-foot-long ship, was anchored closest to where the pipeline ruptured off the coast of Huntington Beach. That data also shows the ship's movements over 2 days appear to have put it over the pipeline. Again, that's the supposed reason for why that pipeline busted. New video shows a police officer pulling his colleague out of the path of an oncoming car. Watch. Whoa. On Tuesday, Officer Jessica McGraw was investigating an accident in Gate City, Virginia, with the help of Officer Matthew Stewart when that white car loses control and hits Officer McGraw's patrol car, whipping it towards the two. Officer Stewart had a minor leg injury, but otherwise the two are okay. Now to the latest in the search for Brian Laundrie. The FBI is focusing their search today on a nature reserve not far from the Laundrie's home. And the family lawyer says that Laundrie's father is joining in the search. Our own Ileana Diaz has been following the story. Pretty big news, Ileana, that Brian Laundrie's dad is going to help.
Yeah, that's right. The FBI asked him to help, and they were actually supposed to go out yesterday, and it was canceled. But something interesting is many people have been questioning why Brian Laundrie's parents haven't been out searching for their son earlier over the past 3 weeks. And so that's really been the focus today for many people. And Chris and Roberta Laundrie, Brian Laundrie's parents, have been mostly at home over the last few weeks, only leaving their home on rare occasions, even avoiding contact with their own daughter, according to Cassie Laundrie. That's their daughter. Now, the parents have confirmed earlier this week that they last saw their son on September 13th, and many have wondered why the Laundries have been silent for so long. Gabby Petito's family spoke out about this in a sit-down interview with Dr. Phil.
I'm a dad. I make my kids stand up for their decisions. You know, if they make a mistake, I'll help you. I'll walk you through that path, but you're gonna own up to your mistake, because that's what a parent does, not what they're doing.
Now, the FBI has now taken over the search. Originally, it was sheriff deputies. And again, as we just mentioned, this is the place where Brian Laundrie, both his mom and dad, believe he could be there, which is why they're now focused on that area. The FBI has asked Brian Laundrie's father to be available, but the family attorney tells us they don't know whether or not they're going to be going out today or in coming weeks, but they said that they will be available to help with the FBI search.
Yes.
Adrian?
And there were reports that the attorney was saying he hadn't helped sooner because the area was closed off due to those investigations. Sounds like officials are now permitting him to be involved. Ileana, thank you. The FBI is investigating about a dozen reported sightings of Brian Laundrie on the Appalachian Trail near the North Carolina-Tennessee border. So far, there have been no confirmed sightings. But what would it take to survive out there or anywhere like it? Frances Tapon is the author of the book Hike Your Own Hike, 7 Lessons from Backpacking Across America. Frances, thank you for being with us. You've hiked the Appalachian Trail. So what kind of skills would Brian Laundrie need to survive there over the last 3 weeks?
Well, it's not too hard to do it for 3 weeks. The challenge will be once the winter comes. So some of the skills will just be able to make a simple shelter, maybe set some traps so you can eat some simple animals and take advantage of the vegetation around you. But the real question will be, how can you survive the winter? That's when things get really tough.
You know, you say the winter, when you say small animals, I'm thinking, you know, Brian Laundrie reportedly had some survival skills, but I mean, are you thinking that he's out there like eating on squirrels, or do you think he's coming out? And again, I know that we're not trying to speculate here, but small animals like rabbits, birds, or would he maybe get away from the trail and come back closer to civilization and maybe forage through dumpsters?
Yeah, that's actually probably a better strategy, but a riskier strategy, because it is really hard to get enough calories to sustain yourself. And remember that at this time of year in the Appalachian Trail, the temperatures are really starting to drop at night. And so I assume that you would have a sleeping bag or something like that to keep them warm. But you burn a lot more calories when it's cold. And so you really need to take a lot more calories in. And that's hard to do when you're just foraging.
So if he is out there in a place like the Appalachian Trail, the cold is a concern, especially as we approach these cooler months. But what kinds of techniques would he have to stay warm? I mean, would he have to have those kinds of sleeping bags and all of the layers that he would need to stay warm ahead of time? Or is there some way that he might maybe bury himself underground?
Yeah, he could take a lot of dead leaves, and that creates some insulation, and that creates some loft, if you will. You can shove that into your shirt and that kind of stuff to create like a poofy jacket, if you will. I would hope that he would, if he's trying to survive, or anybody's trying to survive, that you would have some level of preparation. But if you didn't have anything, yeah, you could pull it off for a little bit. But ultimately, I think he's going to have a real tough time, because one of the key things a lot of people do for surviving in cold temperatures is what? Start a fire. And that's kind of hard to do, because he's going to attract a lot more attention if he starts a fire.
Good point. And I think a lot of people were thinking about that next. We really appreciate your time. Frances Tapon, thanks for being with us. Thanks for your insights.
Yeah, no problem.
Have a great day. Well, we got to turn to our own weather right now. And exactly 1 week into October, the fall foliage is beautiful across the country. A video from Logan Canyon, Utah. Gerard, scenes like this are what make us all feel a little bit better when we wake up. I mean, it's just glorious.
I have to agree. That's the one part of fall I can really get behind. That and soup season. I guess I get really into that
too. Soup season? Oh, it's been soup season.
It's been soup season. Especially when it gets cloudy and rainy, it really warms me up. So I love the fall colors, and man, those look amazing. So here's a few places where we're really looking at that. The fall foliage prediction map for the week. We're seeing it past peak in a lot of the Rockies and far north into Minnesota. Parts of the Appalachian Mountains are reaching their past peak, but a lot of it's still looking spectacular. Vermont is known for their fall colors, but we're going to start seeing that start to creep in a little bit more. So October looking pretty good, as we have seen some amazing fall colors so far. We'll be looking at this over the next few weeks, and we'll show it to you. All right, so weather-wise, we are looking at some cool and fairly dry weather across the heartland. It's all about the rain down towards the south and east. Two systems, one approaching the Carolinas, will bring rain to the coast, but we have this one that's been bringing a lot of rainfall towards the Gulf Coast, and we are still looking at Flash flooding right now for parts of Panama City as heavy rain is still just pulling in all this moisture in off the Gulf. And we're going to be looking at the flooding threat today down along the Panhandle up into northern Georgia. Tomorrow it's going to be in the upstate in the Blue Ridge Mountains of the Carolinas. Adrian.
Thank you so much, Gerard. Still ahead, Cereal City shut down as Kellogg's workers strike their demands. Next. And we may be getting some answers on Brittany Murphy's mysterious death. Sloan, it is so hard to believe it happened more than a decade ago.
Yes, and all these years later, we still have so many questions. Who is being connected to her death, and how could this happen? It's Morning in America.
Before you go there, or fist bump there, or, oh, I can't wait to go there, or reunite there. Start here. Walgreens makes it easy to stay protected wherever you go. Schedule your free flu shot and COVID-19 vaccine today.
My boyfriend is missing. I'm looking for the same guy.
This is getting messy.
I see why they call it Big Sky.
He's such a vibe.
Big Sky, new tonight on ABC.
Find everything you need to feel right at home. Shop the home sale now. Kohl's.
When you get a chip in your windshield, trust Safelite. This couple was headed to the farmer's market. When they got a chip, they drove to Safelite for a same-day repair. And with their insurance, it was no cost to them. That's service the way you need it.
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace.
Ordinary tissues burn when Theo blows. So Dad bought Puffs Plus lotion and rescued his nose. With up to 50% more lotion, Puffs brings soothing softness and relief. A nose in need deserves Puffs indeed.
This is Marianne's first time visiting Paris.
Madame, où allez-vous?
Before Marianne packed her bags, before she attempted her first sentence in French, before she completed her first 15-minute lesson,
Yes.
she downloaded Babbel. Babbel helped unlock her lifelong dream of learning French. She started speaking in just 3 weeks. So when it came time to tell the cab driver to take her to the Hotel Pierre,
J'aimerais aller à l'Hôtel Pierre.
Oh, c'est très bien. J'espère que votre voyage s'est bien passé.
150 language experts and educators designed Babbel to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language. Babbel focuses on natural conversation. You'll remember what you learn, and you can speak and pronounce with confidence. Start speaking a new language in 3 weeks. Try it for free at Babbel.com.
I'm not getting through the pandemic just to end up with the flu.
I asked for Fluzone High-Dose Quadrivalent. It's the #1 used flu vaccine for people 65 and older.
Fluzone High-Dose Quadrivalent is the only vaccine approved by the FDA for superior flu protection in adults 65 plus.
I'm not letting my guard down.
Fluzone High-Dose Quadrivalent isn't for people who've had a severe allergic reaction to any flu vaccine or vaccine component, including eggs or egg products. Tell your healthcare professional if you've ever experienced severe muscle weakness after receiving a flu shot. People with weakened immune systems, including those receiving therapies that suppress the immune system, may experience lower immune responses. Vaccination may not protect everyone. Side effects include pain, redness and/or swelling where you got the shot, muscle ache, headache, and general discomfort. Other side effects may occur.
All flu shots are not the same. I raised my game with Fluzone High-Dose Quadrivalent.
Ask your doctor or pharmacist for Fluzone High-Dose Quadrivalent.
What is in your breakfast bowl today? After a year of negotiations, hundreds of Kellogg's workers union members say that they have been in talks with the company about pay, about benefits, and talks aren't going anywhere. So they hit the picket line in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Memphis, Omaha, and Kellogg's hometown of Battle Creek, Michigan. And that's where we find our Kelsey Kernstein. Kelsey, good morning to you. How many workers are on the picket line where you are?
Good morning, Adrienne. Well, dozens of workers are, and they've really just been chanting all morning saying our future is not for sale. They're fed up. They're angry. They say they've had enough. You can hear them chanting right now. They say that this current proposal, it strips them of their current worker protections they've had in place for decades, really causing a whole lot of problems out here. Now, this is not just here at this plant. There's 1,400 workers right now on strike. This all got started when those negotiations, they went sour on Tuesday, happening at 4 different plants. Again, 1,400 workers, and this is what they're fighting for. They're fighting for their future workers, saying that those future workers will always make less money as well as less benefits, and they're capped at just 30% of the workforce. As well as Kellogg plans to strip the union logo off those cereal boxes as well, losing premium health care plans as well as pension plans, the loss of vacation pay, as well as holiday pay.
Well, we're entirely fed up. We wouldn't be here if that wasn't the case. I'm a 4th generation worker here, and I've seen the complete deterioration of this business and the way that they treat us as employees.
And we've also reached out to Kellogg's. We've got a statement from them, and this is what they said, quote, "We are disappointed by the union's decision to strike. Our offer includes increases to pay and benefits for our employees while helping us meet the challenges of the changing cereal business." Kellogg has also said that if these union workers plan not to work, they'll just move the work to Mexico. Now, really, it's fascinating to know this is a ghost town here in Cereal City. 4,000 workers used to work at this factory, nearly 4,000. Now it's down to 380. They plan to make more cuts. Now, Kellogg is really trying to mitigate the contingency, and their plan is to bring in scab workers. These are workers that plan to cross the picket line, and what will happen is that these union workers says they're not going to be able to do the job, that working these processing plants, getting them up and running is a lot harder than it looks. Also, on the supply line, there's really just about 2 weeks worth of product line, Adrienne.
You know what, this shipping issue that we've had, the pandemic's effects on supply lines, the fact that more people were eating at home, it really led to a boom in businesses like cereal brands and other foods that you prepare at home versus going out to eat. And I think a lot of these employees are feeling like the wealth is not being shared. Thank you so much, Kelsey, for your reporting. We'll check in with you in our next hour. New developments in the Murdaugh family saga out of South Carolina. Disgraced attorney Alex Murdaugh is now accused of using fake bank accounts to send insurance payouts to himself instead of to the sons of his late housekeeper. And his family law firm is suing him, saying he embezzled money for years. News Nation's Riley Benson from our station WCBD in Charleston has been closely watching this story. Riley, it just seems to get more and more messy for the Murdaugh family. I mean, let's start with the lawsuit first filed by the sons of Murdaugh's former housekeeper who died apparently at their home. What does the lawsuit claim?
Well, yes, the housekeeper was a long-time housekeeper for about 20 years. She died in a trip and fall accident back in 2018. Now, the lawsuit is claiming that Alec Murdaugh and his college roommate friend, who's also an attorney, Corey Fleming, basically filed fake documents or didn't have these documents certified through the court system here in Hampton County. They took that approved settlement that was signed off by a judge. They created a bank account called Forge that would look like Forge Consulting LLC, but it wasn't that. It was like Forge Consulting LLC is a company that Murdaugh law firm used often. But Forge bank account, Corey Fleming would write a check to the Forge, drop it in a P.O. box in Hampton where Alec would pick it up, cash that check, and keep the money. There's a lot of differences in the money that was sent from the death settlement, and the death settlement was supposed to pay out $2.7 million to the Satterfield sons. The day that settlement was approved, Corey Fleming wrote a check for $2.9 million and sent it to the Forge bank account that Alec then cashed. There was another check wrote months later, so the numbers didn't add up. They're accusing basically that Alec and Corey Fleming were stealing that death settlement money. Corey Fleming went on record and says that he's a victim of Alec Murdaugh and didn't have any part in the fraud scheme. It's just really a mess. That was the latest we got from the Satterfield attorneys just yesterday.
It's sad because, I mean, they lost their mother and then they had no there was no way to find out where that settlement money was going. Maybe some clarification now. Again, these are alleged reports. Moving to the suit by Murdaugh's former law firm. This is the one his great-grandfather founded. So they're saying he stole money basically from himself, it sounds like, but what exactly are they accusing him of, and how long was this going on?
So the law firm is accusing Alec of filing false documents to the law firm and to clients, and basically funneling money from, payments, from winnings, from different things that have been taken care of at the law firm, funneling them to himself to a personal bank account, again called Forge. That's a commonality we're seeming to find with the different settlements and payments here. But funneling this money to Forge, and then Alec would have that money in his bank account. They're saying he's done this for years, according to the statement coming from the law firm. They didn't say whether that's 5 years or 10 years, but they're saying that this has been going on for some time. He also used some of the firm's personal assets to divert money to his account. So he was using the law firm's assets, different things, to get money to his account away from the firm through the Bank of America is where he had his bank account set up. And again, that was called Forge, which we're finding in different lawsuits here. It just sounds just like a movie. He's lost his wife, he's lost his son, and now he's seeming to lose complete control of any kind of reputation he might have maintained there in South Carolina. Thank you, Riley Benson, for reporting for us. I'm sure there are more stories we're going to be talking to you about soon as this story unfolds. Well, still ahead, former Trump aides subpoenaed for the Capitol attack. Today is their deadline to comply. At our next hour, we're speaking with a former FBI special agent on the documents needed that could help bring closure. And Olivia Rodrigo, she's having her bright, shining star moment on stage. On television, our Sloan Glass explains Rodrigo's rise to fame and what has challenged her the most. It's Morning in America.
So many cable news hosts are playing a part, like you guys are. I get it. You feel the heat to pick a side, pick a party. Too much riding on this for you to be honest about what you're doing and why you're doing it. Well, I'm not going to cheer for a team. I'm also not going to fake objectivity. I'm going to be honest with our viewers about what I think and let them decide.
Dan Abrams Live, a new show weeknights at 8, 7 Central on News Nation.
You've been taking mental health meds and your mind is finally in a better place. Except now you have uncontrollable body movements called tardive dyskinesia, TD. And it can seem like that's all people see. Some meds for mental health can cause abnormal dopamine signaling in the brain. While how it works is not fully understood, Ingrezza is thought to reduce that signaling.
Ingrezza is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with TD movements in the face and body. People taking Ingrezza can stay on their current dose of most mental health meds. Don't take Ingrezza if you're allergic to any of its ingredients. Ingrezza may cause serious side effects, including sleepiness. Don't drive, operate heavy machinery, or do other dangerous activities until you know how Ingrezza affects you. Other serious side effects include potential heart rhythm problems and abnormal movements.
Shift the focus more on you. Ask your doctor about Ingrezza. It's simple. One pill, once daily. #1 prescribed for TD. Learn how you could pay as little as $0 at Ingrezza.com.
Man, I slept.
We gave new ZzzQuil Pure Z's restorative herbal sleep to people who are tired of being tired.
I've never slept like this before. I've never woken up like this before.
I feel like doing things. And then doing other things after those things.
It's hard to explain. I'm just back.
Crafted with clinically studied, plant-based ingredients that work naturally with your body.
I feel really good.
For restorative sleep like never before.
Overwhelmed by the ups and downs of frequent mood swings of bipolar 1? Ask about Vraylar. Some medicines only treat the lows or highs. Vraylar effectively treats depression, acute manic, or mixed episodes of bipolar 1 in adults. Full spectrum relief for all bipolar 1 symptoms with just one pill once a day. Elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis have an increased risk of death or stroke. Call your doctor about unusual changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults. Report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, which may mean a life-threatening reaction, or uncontrollable muscle movements, which may be permanent. Side effects may not appear for several weeks. High cholesterol and weight gain and high blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, may occur. Movement dysfunction, sleepiness, and stomach issues are common side effects. And you can pay as little as $0 if eligible for your first 2 prescriptions. When bipolar 1 overwhelms, Vraylar helps smooth the ups and downs.
Do we have any more paper towels?
Yep. Check the pantry. I just ordered from Boxed.
What's Boxed?
Boxed is the only wholesale club that lets you tap into the value of buying in bulk online.
Is that right?
But unlike other wholesale clubs and online stores, Boxed has no membership fees. Delivery is super fast. And look, free samples. Now we don't have to worry about running out.
Can we order cookies next time?
Save 10% and get free shipping on your first order at Box.com. The better way to shop bulk.
Here's to hard workers, the holding down two jobbers, the making the paycheck stretchers. Here's to the bad to fair credit scores, and those bills were just a little bit laters. At Good to Go, we see you. We know you have the drive, you just can't afford to drive. Good to Go is here to give you auto insurance when others won't. For as little as $20 down and low monthly payments, Good to Go makes it easy to get approved, insured, and back on the road fast. Get the coverage you need, instant proof of insurance, and be on your way. We know you're going places. Let us help you get there. When others say no, we say you're good to go. Visit goodtogo.com.
Now to our entertainment headlines. Sloan, what do you have for us today?
Thank you, Adrian. A decade after her mysterious death, we might finally have answers on what really happened to Brittany Murphy. Murphy became an icon after her breakout role in Clueless. Fans were heartbroken in 2009 when the 32-year-old suddenly died, and they had questions when the primary cause of death was pneumonia. Now, new details have emerged ahead of the HBO Max documentary, What Happened, Brittany Murphy? The two-part documentary will detail her relationship with late husband, British producer Simon Monjack. Just months after Murphy's untimely death, Monjack also died of similar causes. Now the documentary taking a deeper dive into Monjack's questionable past. The unusual circumstances are prime for conspiracy theories. What Happened, Brittany Murphy promises to go beyond the muck and actually answer what happened. And Olivia Rodrigo is working on being happy and healthy. The Good For You singer opened up to Teen Vogue about her growth, being in the spotlight, and learning how to do her laundry. Rodrigo became the breakout star of the year when she released Driver's License. In the interview, she says, when you're in the industry, you're sort of treated like a child, but expected to act like an adult. That's a really terrifying thought, to think that I'm not allowed to make any mistakes because I think that's how you grow as a person. Now, her fans would argue the mistake of dating Joshua Bassett led to the album of the pandemic.
Well, let me just tell you, I've met her, I've interviewed her for High School Musical, the series. She is one of the sweetest young ladies. I don't want to say girl, she's like a young lady, and I just was very impressed with her. Very polite, very cool.
Oh, I love to hear that.
Yeah, and continued success to her because she's doing amazing.
Yeah,
well, thank you
we'll
so much.
See more from her.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely sing more. Well, still ahead, we got to change topics completely. We have this sexual abuse scandal surrounding the National Women's Soccer League. We'll have a live report explaining the global consequences changing the sport in our next hour. Stay with us.
That was quick. And rewarding. I earned 3% cash back at drugstores with Chase Freedom Unlimited. That means I earn on my bug spray and my sunscreen. You ready to go fishing? I got the bait. I also earned 5% on travel purchased through Chase on this rental car. That lake is calling my name. Don't you get seasick? We'll find out. Come on. And I earned 3% on dining, including takeout. So much for catching our dinner. Some people are hunters, some are gatherers. I'm a diner. Earn big time with Chase Freedom Unlimited with no annual fee. How do you cash back? Chase, make more of what's yours.
And Doug.
We had a couple of bogeys on your 6th limo. They need customized car insurance from Liberty Mutual, so they only pay for what they need. What do you say we see what this bird can do?
We are not getting you a helicopter.
Looks like we're walking, kid. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Helen knew exercise could help her diabetes, but she didn't know what was right for her. No. Nope. No way. But then Helen went from no to no. With Freestyle Libre 14-Day, now she knows what activity helps lower her glucose and can see what works best for her. Take the mystery out of your glucose levels and lower your A1C. Now you know. Freestyle Libre 14-Day, now covered by Medicare for those who qualify.
Now Dish has dedicated teams monitoring your signal 24/7.
in the late summer months when salmon are plentiful.
Because we know you need dependable TV. 24/7. TV you can depend on 24/7. Dish. Tuned in to you.
At Carvana, we treat every customer like we would treat our own moms. With care and respect. To us, the little things are the big things. Which is why we do everything in our power to make buying a car an unforgettable experience. We treat every customer like we would treat our own moms. Hey, Mom. Because that's what they deserve.
Get a dozen Double Crunch shrimp for $1 with any steak entree, only at Applebee's. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Now you see me, now you don't.
Now you see me, now you don't.
Now you see me, now you don't.
We see you. So we designed our new No. 7 Pure Retinol range for your skin. Informed by 15 years of scientific research and formulated to be gentler to skin. Powerfully targeting the appearance of dark spots, wrinkles, and boosting radiance. Only from No. 7.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about this morning, and throughout the week, really, supply chain issues, AKA things are not normal anymore when it comes to finding some of your favorite things. I know for me, I have not found my size shoes when I go shopping anymore. I mean, they just don't order my size shoes. It's just...
Yeah.
Forget about it.
No, I understand. I think most women watching have seen Clinique lipstick and have used it their entire lives, and now you can't get it.
What?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Made by Estee Lauder. And
a little different for the guys, I think. It's been auto parts, computer parts, chicken wings, all the things that we really... And your weights, right?
I mean, we all use... Ladies use all those things, too. It's just we're really most concerned about shoes and lipstick. All right. And then the weights. We have much more to talk to you about the next hour. It's Morning in America. Still to come on Morning in America, the most restrictive abortion law in the country now on hold. A federal judge suspends the so-called Texas Heartbeat Act, why abortion services may not resume right away. Let's make a deal. After weeks of insisting Democrats need to raise the debt ceiling on their own, Mitch McConnell shifts course, the short-term solution he's proposing, and why Democrats are claiming victory. Disorder at the border. 10 Republican governors head to the Mexico line to blast the White House on illegal immigration, the Trump-era policy they say needs to be reinstated. And Food Fight, the home of Frosted Flakes, Corn Pops, Eggos, dealing with a worker walkout. Kellogg's employees on strike. What they say should be back on the table. All right, I know you're ready to start your morning right. You're awake, you're alive. Shake off the blahs. Let's get into this Thursday bounding with energy, right? I'm Adrienne Banker. Thanks for joining us for Morning in America. We have the very latest headlines for you. Let's start and get right into it with this story. A federal judge has temporarily blocked Texas's abortion law, the most restrictive in the country. The law effectively banned abortions in the Lone Star State, barring doctors from doing the procedure after about 6 weeks of pregnancy. National correspondent Paul Gerke live with a look and the ruling and reaction to it. Paul?
Good morning, Adrienne. That order was issued by U.S. District Judge Robert Pittman, who says he will not sanction one more day of this, quote, offensive deprivation of a constitutional right. This reverses SB 8, that so-called heartbeat bill, which took effect in Texas on September 1st. This is the one that offers common citizens a $10,000 bounty for successful lawsuits against abortion providers. Planned Parenthood says it saw an 80% decrease in Texas patients in just the first 2 weeks. This all comes out of a Biden administration lawsuit, which argued that the restrictions of SB 8 were enacted in defiance of the Constitution. Josh Blackman, a constitutional law professor in Houston, shares what he thinks the next step for that suit will be.
I ultimately don't think this lawsuit will work for a host of reasons, but I think that in the interim, clinics probably will stay closed. They won't start performing abortion services, at least until the U.S. Supreme Court has a say.
More on SCOTUS in just a second. First, the other side of this issue. Texas Right to Life spokesperson Kimberlyn Schwartz argues this is ultimately the legacy of Roe versus Wade, that you have activist judges bending over backward, bending precedent, bending the law in order to cater to the abortion industry. These activist judges will create their conclusion first, that abortion is a so-called constitutional right, and then work backward from there. Texas officials will seek a reversal from the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. That's the very same court that previously allowed this ban to stand. The Supreme Court, back to SCOTUS as I mentioned, began its new session on Monday. In December, they're set to hear about a different abortion case out of Missouri, another very restrictive law that could have a very direct impact on what happens in Texas. So we'll keep our eyes on that, Adrienne.
All right, Paul, thank you so much for the reporting. A lot of discussions, debates on the table. Right now, a temporary deal to save the federal government from defaulting on its loans is being negotiated. The unfinalized agreement would cover the government's expenses now until December. And after that, lawmakers will be back to where they are right now. So what's going on? Evan Lambert is on Capitol Hill. Evan, it sounds like Democrats will actually take this deal, but what happens in a few weeks?
Adrienne, it's really setting up the same bickering that put us on the brink of financial catastrophe to begin with. So right now, both parties are dug in on their positions on a long-term solution. On Wednesday, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell proposed a deal that would keep the government from running out of money to pay its bills in about 2 weeks. He says Republicans will allow Democrats to raise the debt limit through, quote, normal procedures to a set amount. It would last until early December. Democrats called McConnell's offer a cave, but he also made it clear he wants Democrats to do a longer-term fix on their own through a complicated budget process known as reconciliation. Democrats oppose that. So if this temporary deal is made, here is what we'd be able to avoid: a delay on Social Security checks, a hit to workers' 401ks, skyrocketing interest rates, job losses, and possibly a stock market crash. Now, the threat of all of that could go away for at least the next few months. And a lot of people hoping that a deal, this short-term deal, will be finalized sometime today. Adrienne?
Thank you, Devin. Of course, a lot of people keeping their fingers crossed about a deal. Well, it's not surprising Republican governors from across the country criticizing how the Biden administration handles immigration. But this time, at least 9 of them are doing it from the U.S.-Mexico border. Marky Martin is back with us this morning in McAllen, Texas, to break down this very important trip. Marky, did the governors offer up any new ideas or solutions for how to move forward with this immigration process?
Hey, good morning, Adrienne. They actually did. So these 10 governors came together and they offered up 10 action items, not plans, but actions that they want the Biden administration to take in order to alleviate pressure off these border cities, these towns, the law enforcement that works here. And just a few examples that ranged, from everything from continuing Title 42 public health restrictions to calling on President Joe Biden to continue construction on this border wall, that I'm standing right in front of here that was started under the Trump administration, to deploying even more federal agents to the southern border. And I think a popular question that a lot of people are asking is, well, where are the Democrats? Is this not a bipartisan issue? Yesterday, Arizona Governor Doug Ducey stepped up to that lectern. He said, hey, 26 Republican governors sent a letter to the White House more than 2 weeks ago requesting a meeting.
Either he's unwilling to solve this crisis or he doesn't know how. So we're here to offer solutions. It's been 16 days since we sent the president the letter, and we still haven't heard anything back.
That has gone unanswered. Now, border cities, towns, border leaders have all been warned and are preparing for even more surges. We do have reports, and Border Patrol has intel that some 60,000 migrants, mostly Haitian again, are making their way from South America to the United States. And the National Border Patrol Council even saying yesterday, the president saying yesterday, it is not impossible that we see another situation exactly like the one we saw under that Del Rio International Bridge. Adrienne.
And of course, those pictures, the imagery from those tens of thousands of Haitian migrants underneath that bridge, widely circulating, and how we dealt with that, of course, highly talked about. But you mentioned Title 42, and that, of course, is something the Biden administration has continued to enact, correct?
Yes, they have. And yesterday, those governors coming together saying that, that needs to continue and all these other measures need to be taken in order to help everything that's going on here at the border. I will also say President Biden denied the request from Texas Governor Greg Abbott that we need federal emergency assistance here. That was denied just last week. So a lot of governors, a lot of border locals and leaders saying we need resources here that just aren't coming. Adrienne.
Right. Marky Martin for us. Thank you for your reporting early this morning. Well, in light of the governor's request for more attention on the southern border, we wanted to look at some of the places where migrants are crossing in Texas. We've had this mapped out on our News Nation Smart Board. Nick, take us through it.
Adrienne, this all goes back to where the natural borders meet the man-made ones. You saw Marky standing there in front of a border wall. You would think that border wall extends throughout most of the state. That's just not true. In fact, take a look here. You can see exactly what I'm talking about. This is an idea of the area. Texas doesn't have a ton of border fence in the first place because of natural barriers like the Rio Grande and Lake Amstead here to the north. The problem is other ecologically protected areas. You just cannot build a wall in many of these places simply because of birds and natural habitat. So what is happening, Adrienne, is that most of the migrants are coming into this area here, right here. This is where we saw the thousands of migrants underneath the bridge in this area. It was a little bit of a break from the resources, and that's the border checkpoint. Del Rio Bridge has thousands of migrants living there simply because this is where they would come through. This is that one piece of wall, and then this is where immigration actually is. So many would just walk through saying, hey, here I am. Can I start the process? Adrienne, and you just heard Marky also talking about that we have thousands that are headed north now to this area again. She's absolutely right that many are expected to see that situation repeat itself.
It's just amazing. Thousands cross every single day. Now over 1.5 million have crossed illegally in about the past year. And Marky Martin mentioned that Title 42, which is a Trump-era policy that would allow the federal government to actually turn away or return migrants because of this law in order to protect public safety. It tied into a CDC ruling. Thank you so much. We'll have more with Marky Martin in our next hour. We appreciate you, Nick. The suspect in yesterday's school shooting in Arlington, Texas, is in custody this morning. He's being held on $75,000 bail. 4 people injured in that attack. Aaron Nolan is outside Timberview High School in Arlington. Aaron, I don't know that I would call it an attack now that I've said that out loud. What do we know exactly happened leading up to the shooting? Because this was not like a mass school shooting, but more of a moment of anger, correct?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it, Adrienne, is this was not one of those random shootings from an outside entity. I'm going to get to exactly what investigators say happened inside the school behind me. But what we know right now is Timberview High School is closed today. They're allowing this high school time to heal. But you mentioned it. Inside, what happened was a fight turned into gunshots and 4 people were hurt. 1 is in serious condition. The other 3 expected to be okay. Let's get to that suspect. Timothy Simpkins has been arrested for this fight. A spokesperson for the family says Simpkins was being bullied and had been robbed at school twice, adding the family is not by any means justifying him taking a gun to school, but, quote, he was trying to protect himself, end quote. This found on the Associated Press. Now, the 1,900 kids in this school were locked down before being bused to another location, leaving parents scared and worried.
Seen this at other schools on the news, but you never really think that you're going to have your child in a situation like this.
I would like for these schools to have metal detectors in order to prevent that.
So again, right now here at Timberview High School in Arlington, things are quiet. A lot of changes have happened from when we got here yesterday. This location was actually blocked off by caution tape yesterday. You can see behind me that's not the case now. Heavy police presence yesterday afternoon. That is also not the case. School is not happening. No classes today. But I will say not all parents got that message, Adrienne. We just spoke with a parent who was about to drop off kids in this parking lot and asked, is school happening today? Then adding, they didn't get any communication to the school being canceled. So that was sent out on social media, so hopefully we won't see that anymore. The school is making counseling service available to any kiddos who need it. Back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Aaron. Hopefully they send out a text message alert or something, and maybe they have. Well, the search for Brian Laundrie resumes this morning at a Florida nature reserve. Now his family's attorney is saying authorities have asked Brian Laundrie's dad to aid in the search. Ileana Diaz, live with the latest on the manhunt. Ileana, why is Laundrie's father now helping with those efforts?
Well, Adrian, the FBI asked Brian Laundries to help them out, and they were supposed to go out yesterday, but that was canceled. And yesterday was a very active day at the Carlton Reserve. Investigators even used a drone to look over the area. And Gabby Petito's family is hoping that this means they are one step closer to getting answers and hopefully finding Brian Laundrie.
I just hope he's found. I really do. Like,
He'll be found.
No, I mean, like, alive.
I want to look him in the eyes.
The more he runs, the more he hides, the less he can try to say it was a mistake or he had nothing to do with it.
I want to see him in a jail cell for the rest of his life, where he's an outdoorsman, being in that concrete cell, and he can't go see those trees and hug those, you know, and smell the fresh air like that.
As an outdoorsman, that would be in a cement box.
Now, the FBI is continuing the search, and the Laundrie family attorney says the parents will continue to make themselves available to the FBI to help with the search, but no word on when or if that will happen. And Adrian, the parents say that they have not gone out to search for their son Brian Laundrie beforehand because those parks were closed to the public.
Yes, that's what the attorney is saying. Thank you so much, Ileana. We appreciate it. Coming up in our next half hour, we're talking with our own Ashley Banfield. She has a big guest. She's been watching the Petito case very closely for weeks, digging in now in the latest in the search for Brian Laundrie. That show later tonight. But first, watch her here on Morning in America. We're sending it outside now. A live look over Panama City, Florida. Heavy rain and even some flooding this morning. You can see it is wet outside. The camera covered in raindrops. Gerard Jabali has a closer look at what people in the southeast will be dealing with today. But a lot of folks in the middle of the country are seeing rain, including right here in Chicago.
Yes, you're right. We've been hearing it on the roof here, but it's flooding rainfall down south. That shot you saw from Panama City, they've been dealing with flash flooding today, and we're seeing that now as this huge feeder band of moisture coming in off the Gulf of Mexico, just dumping a ton of rain over these areas. They've seen over a foot of rain the last 3 days here, and we're continuing to see more of that. Not just there, but over a lot of areas. So the panhandle of Florida seen a lot of rain, as well as places like central Georgia, southern Alabama, but we also saw quite a bit into the Birmingham area late last night. That led to a lot of flash flooding. They had flash flood emergencies in effect until 5 a.m. this morning, as now they are going to go back and do a lot of search and rescue still for a lot of these folks. So Birmingham, a hard hit area from the rainfall last night, all from the same system, mind you, as well. So 10 inches of rain at least for the southern side of Birmingham in the last 24 hours, most of that last night, but also up towards places like Huntsville. So we're continuing to watch for more of that rainfall. We're going to see the flash flooding threat here over the next 12 to, I'd say, around 24 hours. By tomorrow, we will see it shift a little more into the upstate of the Carolinas, but the flash flood watch is in effect through this evening. And then again, tomorrow is where we're going to see things shifting into the upstate of North and South Carolina. All right, so any travel delays that we're going to have, some fog delays early in the mornings here for Kansas City, Nashville, but we could also see some of the rain delays for places like Atlanta, Orlando, even into the Charlotte airport. Adrian?
All right. Thank you so much, Gerard. Still ahead, President Biden is heading to the Windy City today, and how he plans to encourage more companies to require employees to vaccinate. That's next. No more silence. Those were the words chanted as a sexual abuse scandal surrounds the National Women's Soccer League. We have the latest in the investigation coming up on Morning in America.
Fire in progress.
What's down there, drug lab?
Sending in help.
5 firefighters down. We need air.
Bishop, Ford, Sullivan.
Allergy sufferers. Bedtime means it's time to take Zysol. Zysol relieves allergies while you sleep, so you wake refreshed. And in a clinical study, after just 1 day, 90% felt powerful 24-hour relief. So be wise all. Take Zysol at night.
We make the goods that make life better and make the everyday more sustainable. Oh, and if you shop now, you can save on them too. Sonoma Goods for Life. Kohl's.
When you get a chip in your windshield, trust Safelite. This couple was headed to the farmer's market. When they got a chip, they drove to Safelite for a same-day repair. And with their insurance, it was no cost to them. That's service the way you need it.
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em. It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, clean bottom. We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
80% get genetically meaningful health info from their 23andMe DNA reports. 80%. That's 8 out of 10 people who could get something enlightening, something empowering, something that could change everything. Info that could give you greater control of your own health. And it's right there in your DNA. So, if 80% get genetically meaningful health info, the question is, will you be part of the 80%?
Do you know what the future holds?
I am living with CLL, and I am living longer, thanks to Imbruvica.
Imbruvica is a prescription medicine for adults with CLL or chronic lymphocytic leukemia. It will not work for everyone. Imbruvica is the #1 prescribed oral therapy for CLL, and it's proven to help people live longer. Imbruvica is not chemotherapy. Imbruvica can cause serious side effects, which may lead to death. Bleeding problems are common and may increase with blood thinners. Serious infections with symptoms like fevers, chills, weakness, or confusion, and severe decrease in blood counts can happen. Heart rhythm problems and heart failure may occur, especially in people with increased risk of heart disease, infection, or past heart rhythm problems. New or worsening high blood pressure, new cancers, and tumor lysis that can result in kidney failure, irregular heartbeat, and seizure can occur. Diarrhea commonly occurs. Drink plenty of fluids. Tell your doctor if you have signs of bleeding, infection, heart problems, persistent diarrhea, or any other side effects.
I am living with CLL and living proof that Imbruvica is right for me.
Ask your doctor if it's right for you.
Common sense news for common sense people. These are the facts. You can formulate your own opinions.
The rest of us really just want the news. We want the facts. We want to get on with our busy lives.
Our job isn't to tell you how to think. It's not to give you our opinion.
It's really just about show and tell, not pitch and sell.
When we walk into this building every day, we check our opinions at the door.
That is the mission, and I think that's what news for all of America means.
Welcome back to Morning in America. President Biden is coming to Chicago to promote his vaccine mandate for businesses. The trip rescheduled from last week because of the contentious negotiations on Capitol Hill over his stalled economic recovery plan. Nick Smith is live with us in studio with more on the president's visit. And Nick, what can we expect from the president?
We can expect the president to talk about those vaccine mandates. The president's second visit to Chicago since his inauguration. He's expected to meet with United Airlines chief executive and local Democratic leaders to continue his vaccine mandate push. The White House said in a statement that the president's message will be clear. Vaccination requirements work. The mandate, which the White House says will cover 100 million U.S. workers and apply to about 2/3 of all U.S. employees, is being written in part by the Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA. The White House believes the vaccine mandates are the most effective way to keep workplaces safe and send a clear message to the unvaccinated. A Kaiser Family Foundation poll found that 51% of those surveyed were in favor of employers requiring vaccines. The move was controversial, spurring pushback from several high-profile Republican governors, and there have been court challenges. On September 23rd, federal workers filed a lawsuit, and some legal scholars have argued that the federal requirement may conflict with some state laws. Adrian, at least 24 state attorneys general have announced their intent to sue in anticipation of the OSHA standard.
All right, Nick, thank you so much. Well, Los Angeles, you're talking about COVID mandates. They've enacted one of the strictest vaccine mandates in the entire country, and maybe following New York. Beginning November 4th, anyone 12 and older will have to show full proof of vaccination to go inside shopping malls, restaurants, movie theaters, bars, gyms. Is there anywhere else? Unvaccinated people with medical or religious exemptions will have to, they do have a way to get around it. They can go inside only if they show proof that they have tested negative for COVID within the last 72 hours. So you can only imagine how often you'd have to test to live life in Los Angeles. 69% of LA County residents over the age of 12 are already fully vaccinated. Well, today's the deadline for 4 of former President Donald Trump's close advisors to comply with subpoenas from the House committee investigating the January 6th insurrection. Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen will also be meeting with the January 6th committee to provide her insights as to how Facebook was used to facilitate the attack. It's just getting to be a bigger and bigger discussion. This subpoena includes Mark Meadows, Kash Patel, Steve Bannon, and Dan Scavino. They've been asked to turn in documents by today and give a deposition later this month, but one has yet to be served. According to CNN, the committee has not been able to track down Dan Scavino to physically serve him the subpoena. And we're joined right now by Phil Andrew, who served 21 years in the FBI as a special agent. Thank you, Phil, for being with us this morning in studio. So let's talk about Scavino. What was the nature of his relationship with Donald Trump, and the fact that this is so important for them to get this paperwork back today? How crucial is this relationship?
Well, Scavino was Donald Trump's deputy chief of staff. And the idea here is did he know something about any kind of planning that was taking place to support, encourage, amplify the attack on the Capitol? And was that in any way orchestrated, and what kind of communications took place? Is there any papers, documents, emails, conversations, or recordings around that?
Is it surprising to you, having worked with the FBI, that federal investigators are looking into this specifically to see if anyone was complicit in this insurrection versus this being a collective of bad characters who came and staged this insurrection?
Well, there's really 2 investigations. You know, there's the federal investigations that's being led by the Justice Department and U.S. attorneys, where approximately 600 people have been arrested of the maybe 2,500 that were involved in actually entering the Capitol. That's actually being handled by Justice. This investigation is a congressional investigation. So these subpoenas have the same full weight and authority of a criminal or court subpoena, but it's a little more difficult to enforce them because they'll have to go back to Justice and say, hey, we'd like these enforced. And the Justice Department has to bring them up. So this is part of the January 6th attack on the Capitol congressional Senate investigation. That's where those subpoenas are coming from.
Is it surprising to you that Frances Haugen, who was an employee at Facebook for just a couple of years, she came out to talk about how the app, the social media site, could be detrimental to children, but now she's being asked to be in this conversation surrounding January 6th. This was part of what she said was an issue, which was that Facebook was not doing enough to protect the civic interests or the civic responsibility that they should be, in authority over. What do you say to this?
Well, it sounds like she's saying that some of Facebook's practices have led to opportunities like this where there could be an orchestrated effort to amplify and incite using Facebook as a platform. And Facebook is said that they have taken steps to prevent that. What she's saying is that they haven't really followed through on some of the learning and insights that they have. And she's using as an example the January 6th attack on the Capitol as one of those situations that Facebook sort of allowed its minders did not catch and really kind of try to retard some of the false information that was coming out.
Even in light of today's deadline, when do you think, is this going to go on for months, even years, this investigation?
Well, I think that this investigation is going to continue until they get some answers, and it has to. I think that the country deserves those answers. But the difficulty of these deadlines and kind of the cat and mouse, it's very unusual that somebody that is clearly operating like a Twitter account can't be found in person and served a subpoena. Eventually, they are going to come forward. But there is a question of how much information they're actually going to provide. There's a question of executive authority. They've asserted that, how much information they can be compelled to provide. But I imagine at some point this will merge with the Justice criminal investigation, and then there's greater ability to force compliance with providing that information. The truth is this is all sort of in the historical record. Many of these documents exist, were turned over to the National Archives. It's just a question of can they be used, and then what sort of personal records can be used to supplement, to kind of corroborate what the theory is on this investigation.
For January 6th, which we're going to continue to talk about. Thank you so much, Phil, for being here with us in
Glad
studio.
to be with you.
We appreciate it.